Hey everyone, Jack here, and I'm going to demonstrate to you the newest tool called AnimKit that I've been developing for quite a while. What is it? Well, it is a toolkit or a shelf containing several tools for Maya to make animation and working in Maya easier. So today I'm going to demonstrate using this really cute character called Nutmeg and this 1 second animation just to make render short. Okay, cool. So first let me talk about the installation of AnimKit. You can get AnimKit on GitHub, on my GitHub. So the GitHub link is over here. I'll probably put it in the description as well. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to releases. It's probably going to be a newer release because I haven't released this version yet. And then just grab the zip file and you should get your AnimKit something like this. Okay. So then there are a couple of scripts you will need to do. First, you're going to go into user-setup.py. This is an example file. Copy everything over here. And you go to the called Maya preference directory. So it is over here. It's in your documents, Maya scripts. And then there is this user setup.py. If you don't have this, just copy the example file I gave you and just copy into here, paste it up into here. If you do have something over here though, just open it and then add this line, or just, yeah, it's the same thing. Start AnimKit and then add this in the front of anything. Okay, cool. So that is the user setup. And that is probably the most techiest thing you will ever need to do, because I already wrote a automatic script for you called install AnimKit. All you need to, so you will need to be using Windows, because Arno doesn't really support macOS AMD graphics cards, so I assume everybody's using Windows. I'm using Windows, so what you can do is you can run this script, and then the script will automatically install everything for you. That's it. The next time when you open up Maya, you will see this in your script editor. AnimKit shelf successfully loaded all components of AnimKit. And once you see this, and then you will also see a shelf over here called AnimKit. And that is pretty much it. You successfully installed AnimKit for your Maya. Now, what does it do? There are a couple buttons over here. You can see that I can actually use the tools that I write, which is the first 6 tools. And I can also include external tools like Anim School Picker, for example, or Twin Machine. But that is going to be, well, I'm not going to cover how to install external components over here. You can check out GitHub. I'm just going to show you what the tools look like. Okay, so the first button is actually not a tool. It is literally a button to praise the guy who taught me how to script in Maya and who saved my ass many times, so it's a dedication to him, pretty much. Okay, the first tool is called PlayBlast Plus. In Maya, a lot of times when we say we do a PlayBlast, right? Everybody is familiar with PlayBlast. Go to here, PlayBlast. And guess what? Maya only allows us to PlayBlast AVI file, which is a super big and really hard to play video file. It's usually range from like 100 megabytes or something for really short animation, and it's just bad. If you're using SyncSketch, it takes forever to upload. If you're using, say, Discord to show your friends or show your director the newest status of your shots, Discord only allows you to upload 8 megabytes or less. So naturally we'll be thinking, okay, what if we can play blast something into MP4 or encode with H.264? Well, turns out Maya does not have that option. You can only play blast into AVI or image. And that is why I got enough of that BS. I created this tool called PlayBlast Plus. Now, PlayBlast Plus not only PlayBlast but also adds useful information to your PlayBlast file. So here is my demo folder. I have this demo file, and there is also this called renders done. It's just a folder with all the renders finished, so I don't need to render everything again, just to keep this tutorial short. So nothing else. If I click PlayBlast Plus with AVI, let's just see with AVI first. There are a couple options over here, with no padding and with padding. Now, what is padding? The padding I'm referring to is actually your timeline. You can see there are 4 values over here. I am setting to -24, 1, 24, and 48. Well, what is this? Well, a lot of times in post editing, sometimes your director just want a couple frames before your actual animation, or just want a actual second, so they have more headroom when they are doing editing. And that's why you have this called padding. But the official animation you're doing is within this inner padding. So what do I mean by with padding? Well, with padding, you're going to play blast with from frame number -24 to frame number 48. But if I am play blasting without padding, I'm only play blasting from frame 1 to frame 24. Okay, so that's padding. Now, let me just show you how PlayBlast AVI is. As we all know, PlayBlast in Maya. So let's just do a normal PlayBlast with Maya then. I'm going to go to Maya. I browse. I then try to figure out my file directory, and then I just go to say a test and play blast. Okay, look at this video. You can see that all the rigs, everything in the viewports are accurately depicted. Now, a lot of times we don't want these. I don't want to show all the anims, right? I don't want to show all the cameras. If we're doing it in the Maya way, I need to hide everything. But with PlayBlast Plus, look at how it does. It will do the PlayBlast in the viewport. It will create this .avi file. And this one automatically hides all the NURB curves and all the anims for you. Also shows more information on the side. So you have your shots file name, your newest updated dates of this playblast. Actually, I think it's the updated date of the Maya file. Also the frame number. So it is super easy to do critique in Sync Sketch and refer to some frame, so everybody know what you're talking about. Just like that. Okay, so that is with padding. We can see it starts from -24 and it ends with 48. Let me just, yeah, you can see that. Cool. But without padding, we'll just do the same thing, but this is the with padding. I'm going to show you the no padding, which will start from 1 and end with 24. Again, starts from 1, ends with 24. So that is play blasting with AVI. Most of the times we want to play blast with MP4 to save space and just easier for machines to play. So if I click Play Blast MP4, say with no padding, same thing will happen. But what you will get is instead a MP4 file, which works exactly the same as the AVI file. But watch. If I do another Play Blast with no padding with AVI, just 24 frames. That's like just 1 second of animation. Now, look at the file size. Our MP4 only takes 64 kilobytes, but the AVI takes, I don't know, like 32 megabytes. And that is huge for 1 second of animation, right? And this will definitely not pass Discord. And that's why we have this really awesome feature called Play Blast Plus to deal with this kind of issue. So now I just got rid of it. That is Play Blast Plus. Now let's move on to this tool called Iteration++ or Iter++. Name comes from the classic increment in Java called I++, but what this does is it gives you a easier than ever before way to save iteration in Maya. We all know before we have a polished animation, we will go through many iterations. And this is an automatic way for us to save iteration. So if we look at our file folder over here, there is nothing over here, right? Because this, you can ignore this renders underscore done because it's not a part of it. It's just, I saved the render file, so I don't need to render everything again. But if I say save scene iterations, it will pop out a new window asking me to type some notes. So I can say first iteration. And then I hit save. What this does is it will save an iteration of the Maya file. This option only saves the Maya file, okay? So if we go back over here, we have a new folder called Nutmeg Demo Iterations. And inside this iteration folder, I have the V000, which is the iteration I saved, Maya file. And I have this iteration notes. I have the first iteration. So with Windows 10, we can actually preview over here, right? You can see iteration 000 was saved at this time, and the notes is first iteration. Now, what is the coolest part of this Iter++ thing is it can actually save scene iterations with Play Blast. Because we use Maya for animation, so animation naturally needs a lot of play blasting and iteration. And we also learned that play blasting with MP4 saves you a lot of space, right? A couple kilobytes or a couple megabytes is like nothing. So it is a really good way to save scene iterations with Play Blast, so you can come back later and see how your animation progresses. So if I click that, I will also get the same window. I can say second iteration with Play Blast. I hit save. What this will do is this will start the Play Blast process. It will encode everything in the background, do all its magic. And once everything is done, we can see that it creates a new folder called the V001 Play Blast. I also get this V001.ma, so I can go back to the Maya file if I want. Inside this Play Blast folder, I have two Play Blasts, one with no padding and one with padding. You get the both, which is good. Now, let me quickly Play Blast it with Play Blast Plus, and let me show you the difference between using this tool to Play Blast it or saving the iteration. So I have this video over here called demo without padding, so I just use the no padding, okay? And let me go back, And this is the file I playblasted with the playblast tool. Now let's compare. What are the differences between these two videos? The upper one is playblasted using the playblast tool. We have shots, updated dates, and frame. The below one is the iteration saved using the iter++. It adds a new thing called iteration over here. So now you no longer need to try to figure out which iteration or whether it is the newest iteration using the dates. If you use iter++ to save your iteration, you can actually just go to this iteration number in your playblast and you will know if you're using the newest one. Super neat. Okay, cool. Now, going back to this, I can do another iteration with no, so say third iteration with no playblast. If I don't think it's going to need a playblast, for example, like a model, a static prop does not need a playblast whatsoever. So I can just save the iteration using that. And V002 will not have a playblast. But now, say if I want to save another one with a playblast, V also, because Python used zero index, so the fourth iteration will actually be V003 because we also have the V000. So the fourth iteration will be 003. Doesn't really matter. Now, if you have the newest Maya file, you have the newest playblast, everything is in order. Let's check the iteration notes, shall we? Iteration notes automatically updates your notes with everything. So you can see your notes over here without really doing anything too much work. Everything is done automatically, which is really cool. Saves you a lot of time. Okay, so that is I++. There are two small tools over here. One is called Graduator. It's when you use Maya at home, student version, and when you bring your student version into the production environment, you want to get rid of that student version, otherwise it will plague the entire production file once you save the student version. So this one is a one-click button because I'm not using it in the student version right now. This is a one-click button that will actually convert student version into a non-student version. So you can use it in a production environment that is actually licensed for, like, say, education. I think education is a different version than student version. It does not show that. Or some other versions of Maya. Either way. So that is just a one-click solution. This one button also is called Render Clamp Plus. What this does is if you do not have a camera called Render Cam, let me rename this, okay? Now I don't have a render camera in my scene. AnimKit requires a render cam named render underscore cam in order for everything to work. So if you click this, it will automatically create a camera called render cam based on your view. Super neat. Alright, so that's that. That's not like the super big tool. The biggest tool I want to talk about is this tool called Zoetrope. Zoetrope is a custom smart render script, and one of the killer feature is that it can actually bypass this unlicensed R node if you're trying to do rendering with student version. So with a unlicensed R node, if you go to Maya batch, so if I go to rendering tab, I go to render, batch render. Oh shoot, I just started it. Let me just kill it real quick. Oh, it's done. Never mind. So when you do batch rendering, if you do not have a licensed version of Arnold, you will have Arnold watermarks. Somehow, if you render one single still image with Arnold in Python, Arnold actually does not show the watermark. So this tool will actually take advantage of that and let you render stuff out without watermark on your student version of Maya, which is super neat. Okay. We have a couple of things over here. Render all separate render layers will render each render layer in a separate folder. And usually I deal with master layers a lot. So I use this functionality a lot called render only current render layer. Your current render layer is over here. It's the one you have this little film clip on. And currently I am in the master layer, so I'm going to demonstrate to you how the master layer works. I am going to make the padding smaller. So I only render 3 frames, from frame 1 to frame 3. Alright? Now, let's go back to the nutmeg test file. Let me get rid of this renders folder created accidentally by my batch render click. So now, we don't have a renders folders. What if? Oh shoot. Control Z. What if I do a render current layer without padding? It will come up a window asking you will render from frame 1 to frame 3. Are you sure? This one will let you confirm the amount of frames you want to render. Because after you hit yes, Maya will freeze, you can't do anything, and it will just render everything. It will create this new folder called renders. Inside this renders folder, you will have a default render layer folder. And then it will automatically render everything for you using the render setting you specified in your Maya render setting. And once it is done, rendering from frame 1 to frame 3, we'll say task finished. I got it, done. Now, one thing to note is that in order for this to work, your frame animation extension must be set to name underscore hash.ext. Any other options will not work. But what if, just say what if I had this accidentally set to something else? Will Zoetrope stop working? No. Let me talk about another functionality real quick first. So render current frame. As the name implies, it will only render 1 frame. What does this use for? Well, in a lot of remote desktop settings in my production, because now we're in the pandemic, I'm working from home. For at least Maya 2017, when you go to Arnold, open Arnold render view from a remote desktop, you will actually get a blank screen. So this entire thing will be white even after you hit render. So if you're doing lighting, this will really suck because you cannot see how your light does to your scene. What you will do is you will say, okay, I render it, I go to file, I save image to somewhere, and then I open the image. Super terrible, right? With this button, I render current frame, so I am at, say, let's pick a different frame, say frame number 10. So I go to frame number 10, I say render current frame into, you can choose PNG or TIF, because I find it out that PNG is much more useful when you try to share it via Discord, because a lot of times some devices cannot open TIF file. So that will give you a PNG right over here. And you can see all your lights, how it does, by using one click. So that is that. Okay, so TIF will just do the same thing, but now just with a TIF. Why do I need a TIF though? This functionality is used for, say you are doing a render and one of the frames break. Maybe it does not render completely. It happens a lot of time and you just want to fix that. You used to be able to do it by using OpenRNO render view, render it, file, save the file, right? But now if you know which frame messed up, you go to that frame, you hit render current frame with TIF, done. Then it will automatically render it with TIF. And that will fix your problem. Now you have a full render. So that is that. Now, I'm not going to try to render everything out because it takes too much time. I have this renders done file folder. Just going to rename it to renders. Pretend like I have a file that is completely rendered. So I have all the frames that is rendered. If I show extra large icons, you can actually see it's actually jumping, which is cool. Now, let me show you the last functionality called Smart Video Encoder. In a lot of times, when we render all of our shots into images, image sequences, we want to do editing, right? In order to do editing, we need to compile everything into its own video. Or say I want to just show my render to my director, and then I need to encode everything into MP4 and send it via Discord. And just doing stuff using, say, Premiere or After Effects or Media Encoder takes too much time, right? You need to open that software, you need to specify where the image sequences are, yada yada yada. And what's more, Media Encoder will actually, it does not recognize negative frames with negative paddings, so it's a mess. This one, however, will save your lives. All the layers you rendered out under this renders folder does not, so your layer doesn't even need to be in your Maya file. I can just create another folder called dummy. As long as it is a folder containing image sequences of your scene, then it is totally valid. So say you have all these different layers, say five layers of them. Your character layer, your prop layer, your background layer, stuff like that. And what you can do is you go to this, you hit encode all renders with compressed MP4. Let's go into just one folder and see what it does real quick before I actually start it. I click that. I will actually get a MP4 video just by that one click. And this will actually convert everything, every subfolders or layers, into its own MP4 video. Just doing that one click saves all of my work. See? So AVI does the same thing. This will be actually really useful when it's actually production and you want to encode everything into your final AVI. Click that, and then you will get your AVI right over here. And the frame rate will be based on the frame rate you set in your Maya setting, which is usually 24. I mean, we all use 24, so if you don't use 24 in Maya preferences with the frame rate over here, you're probably not an animator. But once you change this, then this will also change the video speed that Zoetrope Smart Video Encoder encodes your image sequence into the video. So that's that. Okay. That is all the functionality I've implemented in AnimKit. I hope you enjoy it. I encourage you to try it out and use it. Let me know if it helps. If you are from a big studio, let me know if you have something opportunity for me to work on. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot. Bye.